It's a great move. Worth all subscribe.
Thunder get better start. Thunder, they're giving a good score. Worth all subscribe.
The Film Game Guide podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? I got the idea from a friend. They provide sponsorships. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. They do all the business stuff, you handle the radio stuff, the podcast stuff, etc. Helps you out with recording episodes. Very good technology. Hope you enjoyed. Dodgers signed Miguel Rojas to an extension. He's a quality starter from the Miami Marlins system. The Film Game Guide podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? I got the idea from a friend. They provide sponsorships. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. They do all the business stuff, you handle the radio stuff, the podcast stuff, etc. Helps you out with recording episodes. Very good technology. Hope you enjoyed. Pennyworth has been canceled by HBO Max. I was surprised it was a little bit late, because of backlash about how it was not kept. I mean, it was kept with other DC shows like Titans, etc. It wasn't as poorly received as like Gotham, which kept going on for a while for Fox for all those seasons, even though the hardcore fans didn't like it. I thought the one about like Bruce Wayne's brother was pretty good on NBC, albeit it was probably too different for people. Krypton was pretty good. Don't know where that's at. It was on Peacock now or whatever. Speaking of which, I might as well cover other stuff that I missed. I missed from the Sun films that James Gunn wanted to do for DC. Gods and Monsters. Flash gonna reboot stuff. I hear after I heard that with I hear Lanterns is gonna be like True Detective with Green Lanterns, which you'll see. Pennyworth, for those who didn't know, is based off Alfred Pennyworth, Bruce Wayne's butler. It takes place in like 1945. I don't know if the premise was interesting, but it was different. It was unique. Just in general, I've grown to like DC on HBO Max. It's not my favorite. It's not what people go to watch HBO Max for, like Sopranos, The Wire, Lovecraft Country, etc. But like, also that it wasn't really. It was like a DC show. It wasn't really like horribly violent, like Lanterns is rumored to be. So it wasn't really the HBO Max brand. Marvel isn't really watching Disney Plus. Not movie wise, at least how they're like 500 movies. I heard like removing a bunch of Phase 4 or TV shows, sorry, because like well, I hear WandaVision, but like the internet is toxic. It's toxic for against Star Wars. It's toxic against DC. It's been like that ever since Dark Knight Rises, and then Man of Steel, etc. And now with Marvel Phase 4. As I mentioned before, even I in the beginning was like, why is DC shows on HBO Max or DC shows on HBO Max? Like we used to them being on CW, etc. I mean, they have like Elmo, they have like Sesame Street. I felt like being on HBO was fine, but like, they have been on like HBO Family, plus like HBO Max. I wasn't exactly doing ratings. Like the big the big ratings things were like House of Dragon, which broke records, and like Last of Us, and that's was giving stock up. Stock's only at like 4% short interest now, and it's rising. Worth also subscribe. Film Game Guide podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? I got the idea from a friend. They provide sponsorships. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. They do all the business stuff, you handle the radio stuff, the podcast stuff, etc. The Film Game Guide podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? I got the idea from a friend. They provide sponsorships. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. They do all the business stuff, you handle the radio stuff, the podcast stuff, etc. Helps you out with recording episodes. Very good technology. Hope you enjoyed. James Gunn complains about how, he complained about the old guard before he took over. He felt like Henry Cavill was mistreated, bleeped around. It makes sense also considering that, Cavill was originally supposed to be part of The Witcher. Next season, he's supposed to be Superman, and then they canceled him, and now he has no work to do. It's unfortunate. James Gunn to the Suicide Squad. They do a great job. Update made 2 RC Forever, folks. There's already a rumor about they're gonna do Wildstorm. Podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? I got the idea from a friend. They provide sponsorships. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. They do all the business stuff, you handle the radio stuff, the podcast stuff, etc. Helps you out with recording episodes. Very good technology. Hope you enjoyed. James Gunn complains about how, he complained about the old guard before he took over. He felt like Henry Cavill was mistreated, bleeped around. It makes sense also considering that, Cavill was originally supposed to be part of The Witcher. Next season, he's supposed to be Superman, and then they canceled him, and now he has no work to do. It's unfortunate. James Gunn to the Suicide Squad. They do a great job. Update made 2 RC Forever, folks. There's already a rumor about they're gonna do Wildstorm. There's a leak on CBR or something. Wildstorm, Superman Legacy, Supergirl, Batman, and Batman Brand the Bold Wolf Robin, Lanterns with Green Lantern, the 2 popular ones, Hal Jordan, and I think Jon Stewart. I forget what else. With us, subscribe. The Film Game Guide podcast has been brought to you by Anchor. Have you ever thought about making your own podcast? I got the idea from a friend. They provide sponsorships. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. They do all the business stuff, you handle the radio stuff, the podcast stuff, etc. Helps you out with recording episodes. Very good technology. Hope you enjoyed. Alright, this is Pure PhD here.
And this is Medita Heart here.
And now Medita is going to ask anything about Tokusatsu.
Yes, this is a special segment, a new segment that we're doing, where Mudita asks Pure PhD about what he has a PhD in, de facto, or whatever you want to call it, in Tokusatsu or Power Rangers or whatever you want to call it.
There you go. That was pretty harmless.
That was close enough.
Close enough,
Close
yeah.
as we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we're going to be asking Pure PhD about...
Mrs. Knights of Tirnanog.
Okay, you're going to have to answer a lot about it.
Let me guess, you didn't even know what the name of the show was?
You have to remind me a little bit. So
just what the name of the show?
yeah, so maybe we'll start with that. What is Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog?
It's a tokusatsu done by Haim Saban around 1999 when like the show was like when like it was like Saban was basically done almost at that point with Tokusatsu, and it was shot in both I think Ireland and America at the same time before they made their move to New Zealand, and it has to do with like the LARPing aspects of like Super Sentai. It has to do with like it's like different knights and queens and kings and princesses instead of like the martial arts or other LARPing aspects of like the Super Sentai crew or whatever.
Okay, so it's like Power Rangers, but like with Celtic people and witches and wizards and kings and knights and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how exactly is it a tokusatsu, but done by Saban, but also it seems like it's not Japanese in a way. Is that right?
It's all American footage. Albeit they do use like some of the Japanese monsters from the show. At least that's what I read from the Wikipedia. I haven't actually watched the show in a long time. Actually go look to see which parts of what monster was from what show of Japan.
And you say which show? Does that imply it pulled some assets, like some costume designs from multiple different shows in Japan?
I believe so. I'm not actually sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
And this is probably why we should be near a computer while we're talking about this.
Yeah. Well, I actually have to watch the episodes. Like, apparently, like the show is on Power Rangers' YouTube, and like everything else on YouTube, they didn't advertise it was there. Like I told Justin Dodd, I showed Justin Dodd this photo of like George W. Bush from Dino Thunder, and like he's like, "Wow, where'd you find that from?" I was like, "This is Power Rangers' YouTube," and then my friend was like, "Well, Power Rangers is a YouTube? Is that where the shows went after they got off Netflix?"
It sounds like you said your friend's name on the.
It's
the
probably
podcast.
fine. Yeah.
Are you okay with saying that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
On the recording. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's on the Power. Okay, so even though it's not a Power Rangers show.
Yeah.
And it's not a Tokusatsu show. It's not a Super Sentai show.
I think in Japan they would consider a Tokusatsu show like Star Trek or like anything with sci-fi in it.
Yeah, but it's not a Japanese Tokusatsu show.
I guess it's not, even though it does have that aspect that was on Wikipedia.
And it's not a direct adaptation of a Japanese Tokusatsu.
Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
It definitely isn't. Yeah.
In the way that Power Rangers is a direct adaptation of
like Mighty Morphin is Zoo Ranger and Die Ranger and Kaku Ranger and O Ranger is Zeo Ranger, and you look like you're gonna punch me in the face now.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, but like this show is not that.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah,
it's its own thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, how many other shows are like this? Is this very common, or is this seems like a pretty uncommon thing?
It's very uncommon in the
Western world.
It's pretty uncommon. They have that USA show, Tattooed Teenagers from Outer Space, or Beverly Hills. I forget the name of it. I never watched it when it was actually on USA. I don't know if I had cable back then.
Beverly Hills and Outer Space are kind of similar. That's some LA humor there.
There you go. I mean, where else are you going to do outer space stuff than in Hollywood?
Right.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills is like a very affluent neighborhood in LA where a lot of celebrities live.
I think celebrities believe in aliens over there.
Probably true.
Yeah. Let's see what else.
There's
like the Teenage
Wood, you know.
There's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show done by Saban, which didn't have any Tokusatsu footage in it. I don't even think it has Tokusatsu monsters in it, from what I recall.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had Tokusatsu.
Yeah, it was what was it called? The Next Mutation.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that show was actually had. Some of it was like done by the Jim Henson Company. Some of the special effects of it. So. Or the Jim Henson's Creature Shop or something like.
Because of the suits.
Because of they had some puppetry elements that was useful there. So.
I think there might have been like an actual puppet on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I didn't know about that.
Was that the show that had Venus de Milo?
Yes.
So all the other Ninja Turtles.
So also you're an expert on Venus de Milo now.
I remember watching that show.
Yeah.
All the other Ninja Turtles had names based. I remember because all the other Ninja Turtles had names based off of like. A Renaissance painter or artist or sculptor,
Yeah.
But then, like, for the girl Ninja Turtle, the one girl Ninja Turtle, they gave her the name Venus de Milo,
And she has a blue headband, which is already taken anyway.
Yeah, they really, I don't know, they could have done better, I think. But
Yeah. I like the character, albeit I guess
character.
it sort of is like a caricature, it's sort of a racist caricature of characters.
What I know, I remember like there was a moment for some reason from my childhood where like she's trying to say piece of cake, but she says piece of pie, and they're like, no, it's piece of cake. And then they're in the middle of a fight, so she doesn't know like
I guess
she doesn't know English idioms.
I guess that happens in every language, though, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like people don't understand.
Yeah, like there's a whole Star Trek episode dedicated to that.
Yeah. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't really know. She's a turtle, right? But what's her background? Like, what's her? Apparently, she has an ethnicity. And then, like, all the other Ninja Turtles are just implicitly from California. Like, they're born and raised there.
Even though they live in New York.
I know they live in New York. So
some people have, like, California accents, like, on Twitch, even though they live in New York.
I just heard someone on Twitch that said, like, they sound Canadian, but they're from Boston. so people just have weird accents sometimes. Like, when they're, like, Twitch people and all they do is watch Canadian TV shows or something. I don't know. Yeah, growing up.
That can happen now. Like, it's all the streaming app era, yeah.
Yeah, or I don't know.
Or Canadian voice actors.
Yeah, or I learned how to speak English from Mr. Rogers growing up, so I don't have the accent that our parents have and stuff. So, so there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, getting meta here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Wow, talking about our parents on a Tokusatsu podcast. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gotten pretty far away from Mystic Knights of Tyrannog.
I'm sort of curious about this whole interview about Next Mutation now.
Oh, really? I don't know that much about it, honestly. That's pretty much like the two things I know about it.
Piece of pie is the only thing.
Venus de Milo, Piece of Pie, and Jim Henson a little bit, yeah.
I didn't know it was Jim Henson. That's very interesting.
I think if you go to the Jim Henson exhibit at Museum of the Moving Image, they'll show like in the last part of the exhibition, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. So.
It's not the actual movie ones.
I'm not sure. It might be the movie.
I would picture it's from the movies.
Maybe it's the movie.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool indie film that they both did that did a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm pretty sure like all those workers need to find like some place to like. They started doing like third party work to start like employing their people and stuff. So special effects work, and you know Hollywood's big enough that there's like enough gigs going around that they need like shops to like do their special effects stuff for. So it's like Weta Workshop or
ILM
or ILM or whatever or how like Pixar or MCU's places are going to be shifted around in Disney or whatever.
I remember like Iron Man was ILM.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. There's also a lot of like New York based 3D animation studios that end up like doing like in like the hundreds of people credited in like a Marvel movie. Sometimes they'll just mention like a third party company that's like a couple dozen staff members that are based in New York or whatever.
That's pretty cool. Like they would say like from New York.
Yeah, exactly.
State of New York.
Yeah, so yeah, sometimes you'll see that. Let me see what else. So Mystic Knights of Tyrannog.
Yes.
So what happens in the show exactly? Like, what's the premise? Like, what's the plot?
It's I guess it is sort of like Power Rangers. Like this evil queen like goes after them, and they need to get powers to go beat the queen.
Okay.
And like she has like a gold arc, except it's like just this big night guy who's like old or whatever, or brawny or whatever.
Okay, he's a lieutenant or whatever, that kind of thing.
Trying to remember what the episodes are about. I haven't watched them in a while.
Okay. And then, let me see.
I actually never watched the finale also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think I watched the finale, if so I might have forgotten it.
Okay, I guess we're running out of stuff to talk about then. Yeah.
Yeah, like, each warrior is based on like
oh yeah, what are the Rangers in this?
There's Rowan and Henshin Chan is like fire within me, I believe, and he's the fire warrior or whatever his official title is. I don't remember. There's Angus, who's the Earth Knight or whatever, and it's like they all have like their special Henshin things where like they say the element and then they say something me, and then the fifth or the sixth one was like Garrett, I think, and he has like the forest around me, and there's the air princess, and there was the other one? I forgot. Oh, water, yeah.
Okay, classic elements.
Yeah.
Classic elements in antiquity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, pretty. Yeah, it seems like a Power Rangers for like formula.
Yeah.
Seems like Saban was trying to spin off. Now, oh yeah, I think you mentioned like why they were trying to do this or whatever, right?
Right. So before that, actually,
Okay.
there's another thing I forgot to mention. You were asked if they did martial arts on the show, and they don't do martial arts on the show.
Oh,
really? They do like LARPing, like Dungeons and Dragons, like swords and shields and stuff. And like for the super attacks, they do like special effects, but it's like less toy-like. It's not like they combine the weapons or whatever. Like they do like separate weapons, and they do these special wind or earth or whatever attacks that I don't know if they've aged well, but they look pretty cool at the time.
Okay, they do special effects attacks. Did they sell toys for this show? Most importantly,
that's a very good question. I didn't collect toys till like 10 years ago, so I'm actually not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I would assume so, right? Like,
I mean, that's what the other shows are all about. Power Rangers. Like,
here's the
money
thing:
was all about
you would figure
toys.
that, but not every show actually remembers to sell toys, or they like get canceled before they can ever sell the toys or something. The show lasted like a season or two, I think. Yeah.
How long? So is that a standard amount of time for?
It's hard for them to last long because they have to film in Ireland, and like there's a huge crew. I don't know what they might have been union, they might not have been union because like around that time they're going union, which elevate the cost, which goes to the question you wanted to ask. Actually, you wanted to ask it.
Like, why was Saban like spinning off this new show or whatever?
So yes. Ratings were going up for ratings for Mighty Morphin season 1 were up very high. Season 2 they declined a little bit. Then they made the movie, and then it declined again.
And
so they made Zio.
So what's the timeline for this? In terms of years, I guess. So
I'm just going for the whole Saban timeline in terms of ratings.
Okay.
Zio they went up, and then like they went down at the end. So they did another show. They did Turbo. I think in the beginning they did terrible because like the whole car gimmick and the kid in the beginning. Even though like it did really well for Beetleborgs. When they introduced a new cast, it did really well. In Space, I heard did well. And then after that, the ratings sort of didn't really move anywhere.
Okay, so what's the timeline? What's the year that Mighty Morphin started and In Space ended?
It's like 1992 to 3 to like it's like 5 or 6 years for In Space, and then that would be like 1999 or so, I think.
Okay. And then that was around. Is around?
They had to experiment a little bit because, like, they always had to have a backup plan since the beginning about what they were gonna do. That's why they have VR Troopers, Beetleborgs, just to see, like, in case you don't want all your eggs in one basket.
They're diversifying.
Yeah.
They even tried Mask Rider for.
Yeah, I forgot about that Mask Rider, which is actually based on
Kamen Rider.
And more importantly.
What?
Exactly. That's the reaction I wanted to get. Which you find out.
Is it not based on Kamen Rider?
No, it is based on Kamen Rider, but it's a specific Kamen Rider that you're familiar with.
The older Kamen Rider Black?
It's sort of.
The original Kamen Rider Black?
Sort of, yeah.
What is it?
I don't want to spoil it for you. It's sort of based on Kamen Rider Black, yeah.
It's like half the footage from like the 80s and then half the footage from the 90s or something like that.
It's mainly from the 80s, yeah. Like this show was like on in like 89 or something, and like Mask Rider came out like 94 or 95 or something.
Okay.
And like Saban was playing around, even with VR Troopers, like that second season they used like stuff from like what is it? Like the third Metal Hero or something, which is like 10 or 20 years before or something.
Okay. VR Troopers is based on Metal Heroes.
Yeah. It was based on Metalder and Spellbound and what's the other one? There's a third show, and it was the third Space Sheriff show and the third Metal Hero show. And like Metalder was 87, and Spellbound I think was 88. You see like you want to hit me?
No, definitely not. I'm doing everything I can to not want to hit you.
There you go.
I definitely do not want to hit you, Richard. That's why you should stop talking. No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, just get it out of your system. Get it out of your system. Do it. Okay, wrap it up. And then what was the other one you said? Metal Heroes, Kamen Rider, and then Vera Troopers. What's Beetleborgs based off of?
It was based on Metal Heroes. It was based on the show that was around the same time as Mighty Morphin. It was like around the same time. Like Zoo Ranger was like 1 year behind or something.
Okay, and like Metal Heroes has been around the same amount of time as like Super Sentai was. Like,
it was a little bit after, and then they canceled it before they redid Kamen Rider for the 2000s.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good.
I'm sorry.
I'm a little turning out a little bit here. I don't know why. I don't know what.
So,
I'm sure this is very interesting to a lot of people who might be listening. So it's
no offense, he's just not the pure PhD.
I'm not the pure PhD, and I'm about to listen to a lot of this, and it's a survival instinct at this point. I'm sorry.
Pure PhD, inquire with your pure PhD talk.
No, I'm sure that's how real PhDs are like in real life too. Not saying you're not a real PhD,
I mean,
of course.
You're a real whatever your degree is thing, and sometimes I turn out also.
Yeah.
That's sort of what you need to like become that kind of degree person.
Yeah. Wait, you two now? For I thought you thought what I said was interesting. Oh man. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Let me see what else. Any other things about Mystic?
I noticed you're taking some D3 and some calcium right now.
Yeah, man, some calcium and D3. Why not?
It's obviously not related, right?
Why not? I gotta get some of these gummies in.
I need some sugar for some reason. So for some reason, when we're just talking about Metal Heroes and Mass Rider and all this stuff, I just need some gummies.
I need vitamin supplements.
And you work out.
It's important to get your nutrition, right?
All right, so finally I remembered what I was talking about. So anyway, they were diversifying. Like around this time, they're like, all right, the ratings aren't going anywhere, and we're not like at like 10 million viewers anymore.
Right.
So we got to keep experimenting until we make a lot of money again.
Also, probably by like making it an original thing, they don't have to pay as much for licensing. I'm guessing.
They didn't have to pay for the original footage, but like they made their own original footage, which also cost money.
I guess it costs money, but they get the rights to it, and then like they get the full rights to it.
That's very interesting because like I actually don't know what happened to the Mystic Knights rights when Disney bought Saban, because I don't know if it was ever on Jetix.
Oh, interesting. Maybe it just didn't do well enough to. Do you think it did well enough to like be worthy?
I actually don't remember the ratings. I think it was just canceled because the show just the budget was they didn't allocate budget anymore.
Okay.
Or like they were planning on making the sale to. They were probably like diversifying the negotiated sale to Michael Eisner and Disney also.
Ah, okay. Did they have a really big budget for the show compared to the other shows?
I doubt it. I don't know anything about the show, but I doubt it just because I know of the history of Power Rangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Power Rangers had a very low budget.
It always had a low budget.
Okay.
The biggest time, well, to be fair, the biggest time they had the budget was around this time when they were hiring all the union actors like Vernon Wells for Time Force and like the guy who played Daredevil in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon played the guy in Time Force as Wes Collins' dad. And like they basically had a whole bunch of union actors, which increased the budget of the show.
Typically, they hire non-union actors, and
for 99% of the show, outside of like this time period, like they normally don't hire union actors.
For Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of things to say about that, of course.
Yeah. Of course, I would say about it, even without Power Rangers, they'll talk about unions and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make it kind of weird how, like, there was, like, an NPR show.
Yeah.
where like the host interviews different executives, and he
Yeah.
interviewed Saban.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
But
then
he
like
doesn't hire. He doesn't actually talk to the
he
union
didn't, he
people.
didn't talk to him about like
Hey,
how like he
hey, you
didn't
can't
use-
interview me when you're talking about the unions about my show.
Yeah, he didn't end up talking to him about putting his feet to the fire about like a hard hitting question about like non-union labor or whatever.
I'm so curious because, like, in Lost Galaxy, which might have been like after In Space, Lost Galaxy might have been like the first time or around the time when they went union. Because like the Red Ranger from that ended up being a lawyer, so I wonder if he ever ended up doing something that made it union or something. Yeah,
Yeah. And Saban did the theme for Inspector Gadget. Is that right?
he did a lot of stuff. He did like a whole bunch of like Disney knockoff cartoons way before that hired like Robert Axelrod and Rorschach Cart way before Mighty Morphin came out.
Okay, so he already collaborated. He's already getting his feet into Hollywood.
I actually don't know who owns that stuff, honestly, since you mentioned that. I don't know if he still owns the rights to that or if one of Power Rangers
and then like Inspector Gadget coaster is still in the Go-Go Gadget coaster is still in Disney World or Toontown, right? And the Disney
that
parks?
has to do with Gadget from Chippendale
Rescue Rangers, not Inspector Gadget.
Yeah. Also, like Saban is doing. So he after he sold. This is a tangent also. After he sold Power Rangers and whatever, Fox Kids or whatever, he he invested in like Telemundo and stuff, and like is the majority owner of that.
or commercial. So that's my concentration with. Oh, I forgot the audio. Hold on, shoot. So that was my concentration. It's like what I was gonna watch with Spectrum. I think I have more energy after exercise. Probably cable outage, spectrum outage. Oh, it might have been because I was on the YouTube and then like recorded the audio. Yeah, we'll see. All right, I'll switch to guess let's lights off. Lights dead. I'll switch to need to switch to what's it called? Persona 4 Golden. That's also subscribe.